Wagwan blessings. Jobless.
Yes, sir.
Rastafari Selassie the first.
Rastafari.
Thanks. Yes, we're here again on another, podcast gathering attention for dialogue. Thank you for everybody that tunes in. We're excited to come and bring some updated material to you guys. Today we're talking about some major, major shifts in the politics in the global arena, some shifts in the weather, some shifts in the precipitation of what people anticipate for the future, and some shifts in the minds and the hearts of humanity around the world. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of open up and get you guys excited about what we're doing today so we can bring you all up to speed with some new developments. Brother Josh, if you wanted to add anything, man, by all means, you're more than welcome to.
Of course, of course. So, as you all may see the topic, the Great Reset versus the Great Awakening. I just want to, I just wanted to bring some insight that I've seen as far as some of the shifts that are going on internationally right now. Um, I'm seeing a contrast between the climate that is happening, the climate socially, economically, and politically that's happening right now in America, while there's a different shift that is happening right now in Africa.
Right.
And at when you look at what's going on in Africa, we see an uprising, and there's also a shift happening right now consciously as far as the consciousness of melanated people as well as many other people in America as well. And we see a lot of attention. A lot of the spotlight is going on with what is happening in Africa right now, as far as, for example, Ibrahim Traore, the great example. You know what he's been doing over in Burkina Faso has been capturing a lot of people's attention as far as the sovereignty that he is looking to establish through the expulsion of the French troops. Um, going back to gold-based currencies, we see them paying more attention to the resources that they do have instead of relying on the United States, the U.S. aid and just outside influence, so that they can truly gain sovereignty over their country. And we see a lot of other countries looking towards them and looking to try to, we see Burkina Faso trying to lead by example.
Uh-huh.
And then
Right.
on the flip side, here in America, we see just the lack of trust in the powers that be. You
Right.
know, um,
No, that's fact.
you know,
There's a decline. Western civilization is feeling the impact, and let's not downplay this. This is very, very important. This can't be, this can't be downplayed when you're talking about economics, when you're talking about statistics, and when you're talking about the facts. Right? European powers are scrambling right now. They're trying to catch up with this new age awakening. They one thing about oppressors is they always have to have a form of control, and when they don't have a form of control, then they start to scramble. They start to do what they're doing now, which is worried and overly right panicking. Like doing whatever they can in desperation. And usually, a key sign of this desperation is when global leaders who buddy start to divide, right? Because a clear sign of them having infighting is a response or what we call blowback. When your strategy is to divide and conquer, then that's what ends up happening to your empire in the end. And if anybody studies Rome and their empire, and eventually what brought Rome to her knees, it wasn't outside. It wasn't outside. It was inside. If you go and study Rome's history, the greatest part of Rome was their unity, and the destruction of Rome was their disunity. And it's almost as though as soon as they grabbed almost all power, or seemingly, right when Almighty decided to bring their empire to their knees. We know about, I believe it's called the triumvirate between Pompey, Julius Caesar, and Marcus Aurelius, from what I understand. And we know that this didn't end up well for Caesar. And Caesar's praised to this day. He's praised. But it didn't end up well for Caesar in the end. So now we see in our times we have people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, or Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they're having kind of like a battle of the titans right there in public. And this is a fallout that American public cannot withstand if they're not careful. This could be the catalyst that begins to bring the empire to its knees. Why? I don't know. I don't think a lot of Americans realize how interconnected Elon Musk's business interests are with this country, right? You see, Elon has a history of being democratic, and that democratic, his companies are forward and progressive companies. The structure of his companies was founded with the idea to align his company's interests with democratic ideas, right? And the Democratic Party. And when he made that shift to the Republican Party, he might have made some ideological shifts, some financial shifts, but his company's interests, what you call the bottom line, was still on the side of the Democratic Party. So now that he's more aligned with with what we would call Republican side of the house, it's almost like there's a shift where in which these are not able to be reconciled. You get what I'm saying? That the business interest versus the personal theological growth that he may have had, which I don't want to get into because that's his personal thing. But we're talking about what Europeans would call, one, the most powerful man in the world, and two, the most wealthy man in the world. Okay? So, President of the United States and the wealthiest man on the planet. And some might say Elon is the most powerful. But I guess when two titans clash, nobody wins. And this is why I don't understand why Americans are still revving this on. But Americans are so far gone, they have become numb to these type of situations where they can't understand the gravity of what's at stake, right? From what I understand, the United States satellites went off not too long ago, and I believe it was Elon Starlink that was keeping American satellites, right, running. What does that look like if Elon is put out of the picture, right? Is the country become too dependent on privateers? But then let's look at the adverse and the flip. Let's look at the flip side, right? If Donald Trump in this country is facing a situation that they've never faced before, because the dependence is mutual. It doesn't just go one way, right? The private sector, because they're interconnected with our government, is also codependent on our economy. You're making a lot of money from the United States economy, and if it's tanking, then this means that the banking infrastructure is going to take a major hit too. You can't really separate the collateral. They call it collateral damage. So there was something that had impressed my mind and heart that I wanted to speak on pertaining to this topic, about this global shift, because we want to speak specifically to the European shift, and then we'll shift over into the Black or diasporan shift in awareness, and perspective. So
Yes, sir.
let's dialogue on this. I want to give you a chance to speak so I can collect my thoughts, so I can finish this L, and then I want to jump back in. If you can kind of pick up where I left off with some things you wanted to add to this, and also, by the way, if you can send the Idrin the link, to me, I say
Oh, yes, sir.
to get them involved. We'll just take a 1 second for anybody who's watching, whoever may watch this in the near future. Forgive the eye. I just need a second to gain my regain my thought process.
Yeah, no problem.
Mhm.
I would. Okay. Let me see if I can find their emails, because it would be so much easier if I could use the WhatsApp on my laptop to just send it to everybody, or even just send it to myself.
Oh, they won't let you text?
Yeah.
Let me think for a second. Okay, let me open this clubhouse and we'll engage them through there.
Okay.
I put tomorrow. Let me put today. Tuesday is, I'm looking for June. Is it the 9th today? It's got to be the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. Start event. Boom. Started the event. I'm going to send them a link again. If you can jump into the house, I'll send you the link real quick too. Boom. It's sent. Let's see you another. Let me see. Brother Rambo, me Rambo. Brother Livica. Oh, yeah. Brother Nishan. Wow. All right, cool. Those are sent. Let me plug my phone in so it don't die too while I'm on the chat. And we'll get back to it. The Great Awakening. The Great Reset versus the Great Awakening. You know, King Charles talked about this Great Reset right before he passed. Y'all know that. Fascinating. Oh, Brother Joshua, there you go. Bless. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay. So I want y'all to picture a world in American history where Great Britain is running the country, and I want you to picture a world where Great Britain, if they decide to continue to fight this war, they have the capacity to do it. But Great Britain got smart, and they said, "Why continue to fight this war when we can just basically create a corporation in Washington, D.C. And once we usurp, we will let them build everything out, and then we'll just come and take the harvest after they fought the wars." Essentially, what seemingly happened with the Treaty of Paris. In the Treaty of Paris, from what I understand, the King of England is titled as the Prince of the Holy Roman Empire. Makes you beg the question, who's the king? In the Treaty of Paris, the the King of England is also titled as the Ark of the Treasury, right? This title, many believe, gives him power over the global banking structure. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but London, right, Buckingham Palace and all that may be for the public, but the inner circle, the ones that overstand, know that the real power sits in the heart of the city of London. And the city of London still operates very much like a gilded age with aldermen and, you know, people that essentially are really, they say, running the world. This is where majority of the banking system is happening. And what makes this area unique is that they fall under a completely different legal framework, right? They're very similar to Washington, D.C. Okay. So learning this, learning that they put their headquarters right outside of London, right? Right outside of the jurisdiction of this nation makes them essentially untouchable, right? And there's three primary headquarters on Earth, where in which power, real power on Earth resides, and one is the city of London, the other is Washington D.C., and the last and the greatest is
The Vatican.
the Vatican, and essentially the Vatican's banking and the Vatican owning most of the largest land on earth puts these individuals in a very unique position for one reason, because it's the most known and unknown. They are what you call power behind the throne, right? So you may think you know, but you have no idea. Why I'm bringing this up is because if you understand the Rothschilds banking family and how they planted their interests in multiple countries and dominated markets and stirred wars behind the scenes, this is what culminated from that era, right? Is now I have 12 banking systems in your country that loan your bank's money with interest tacked on to every single dollar, that loan your government money with interest tacked on to every single dollar, a state of perpetual debt. And they're loaning that money, and that money doesn't come from anywhere but thin air, like magic, right? And all of this transpired from the stock market collapse of 1912. J.P. Morgan cornered the stock market by pulling his stock, right? People bum rushed the banks and found out there was no wealth. There was no money, right? It wasn't really backed. So they panicked. And this panic caused for them to withdraw their money from the stock market. And once the shares were very low and very affordable, JP came back and took and purchased them for pennies on the dollar. While I go on, Bertrand, welcome to the room. More than welcome to come up. If you have any questions, concerns, or reservations, we love to hear from you. We are also on StreamYard. Brother Joshua, if you can, put the link on the Clubhouse, that'd be dope too. You can see the eye. Mm-hmm. We put this under here too. So that being said, now let me invite some people into it. People might have questions or have. It'd be dope if we could connect this to where we can hear it, but it's all good. Yeah, they got my man's right here. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy these podcasts with delay, chill while y'all can, because it ain't gonna be like this forever. We chilling and cooling right now, but when we start get going and we get the backgrounds behind us and we get the official, you know what I mean, we get the official promotion, promotional banners and all that, you'll know it's official. Right now, we're not in it for the capital. We're in it to build, to teach, to reach out to our people. So thank you for anybody that's sharing and coming with us. So moving right along. So we're giving you the history of JP Morgan because it's integral part of their hostile takeover, right? Mm-hmm. Some people would argue, America and American citizens are not necessarily slaves to a corporation. But and however, your social security says different. Your social security number, which you're issued once you're born, is proof that when you come of age and become working, that you'll be paying for the national debt through your taxes like every other citizen, right? And once more so, why are we paying that? Well, if you study the history of the stock market collapse, you know that by 1930, they went and passed the National Security Act, ran up in people's homes, eventually taking their gold and replacing it for paper, and then changing the paper bills from what said legal tender to Federal Reserve note as a clear sign of who's running things around here. So this is very deep. Why did I give you that history? Because now you understand that Washington, D.C., right, which is owing its allegiance to the city of London, where this banking hierarchy resides and operates and functions like the heart of the entire world's global economy, essentially is who keeps that eye on you. Like they say, Illuminati got my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep that what? Y'all know. So now, why is that important? Because Donald Trump comes into power. And Donald Trump now seems to me to be bulldozing federal organizations. Many people in the American community don't realize that these federal organizations are an oversight, but they are no oversight for their organizations and agencies. Say that again. They have oversight, but there is no oversight for their agencies' actions for what they're doing. And this is more than likely a major conflict. Obviously a conflict of interest for the integrity of any sovereign nation, but also for the people. And Donald Trump, being a man of the people or claiming that he's a man of the people, is either doing a great job showing that he's essentially going to be cleaning the swamp, like he say, or this is a bigger game being played. There's two sides to this coin. One is that he's legitimately destroying federal agencies so that essentially our country can finally finish the Revolutionary War that has started, or he's bulldozing the pyramid, or excuse me, the pillars of this house so that they can integrate new pillars which will be sustainable for the next century and beyond, because they understand that this house is falling. And could it be that it's falling too fast? Right? So I'm going to give a little segue. I want to hear what you had to add, because it sounds like, something stirred in you. What you want to say, bro?
Yeah. Okay. It made me think when you were saying that, if I'm not mistaken, before Trump came back into office again, I remember him saying something along the lines of, he was talking to his supporters.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, "Oh yeah, don't worry. Once I get in office, you won't have to worry about anybody else." I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said something along the lines of, "Once I get into office, you won't have to worry about anybody else being elected," or something to that extent. Where it's like, yeah, like it's like there was almost a tone of him promising that there was going to be some sort of like
totalitarian government
he would implement that was going to affect the entire political process altogether for anybody coming after him.
He was caught on a few hot mics, and some of those words were spoken like, "Would you be a dictator or something?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." Like, it's like almost like breezing through it, like, of course. Now I want to bring a little bit of awareness to what you would call the shadow government, which is not necessarily elected. And that who I mean is like people like Steve Bannon or other what you would call lobbyists who invest in in his presidency. You see what I'm saying? You don't invest in somebody unless you know there's kickback. That's why Elon Musk is so upset right now, because he was expecting more kickback. Trump may have went public and said what he said, and it may have been to cover himself. He may have said, yeah, we're gonna cut these EV electric vehicle programs we got that's benefiting your company. He might have said that to the press and then got off of the camera and said, don't worry, Elon, I'm just bullshitting. You know what I'm saying? Just for lack of a better word. I'm just telling them what they want to hear. And then went and been pressured to do it because the people demand it, and they understand that those polls are showing and the statistics are showing, or they're feeling the pressure, or maybe the whole time he planned on doing it and was just selling Elon a pipe dream, because Elon is a smart person. He's not mad for no reason. This what do you call one beautiful big bill? This bill is going to, I'm not going to say it's going to decimate his company, but it's definitely going to cost them billions. That's for sure. It's going to cost him billions. There's a $7,500 tax, I think tax break or credit for people who purchase Tesla. So he's been eating off of those bills. And this is something the American public need to ask. Why was it that way? We understand that you want to go green and we want to do better with electric vehicles, but seems to me like he got a monopoly in that electric vehicle game. What's going on? Nobody thinks about these things critically. So what am I saying, and why am I saying all this about Trump? So we can kind of start to get ready to transition into our people, right? What I'm saying is the infighting is a clear sign of blowback. It's a clear sign of their, what you would call, empire collapsing.